If you want to build a blog inside your Framer site, in this video, I'm going to give you a crash course on Framer's CMS and give you everything that you need to know. Let's go. Okay, so here we are inside one of my Framer projects, and you'll notice there's not too much here apart from a landing page. But what I want to do is add a blog. So when we look at things like a blog inside a Framer, we utilize the CMS, which is the content management system. And this is essentially a system that we can use to add content that feels the same as other sorts of content on our website. So for example, I like to refer to the CMS as like a newspaper. And then inside that newspaper, you've got lots of different articles, but each article follows a very similar format. So for example, we would use a CMS for a blog because it's the same page, just basically different content. So let's go ahead here to the CMS at the top left. And let's go on, add a blog. Now, this is just going to add a new collection here, which we'll refer to as our newspaper. And inside it, we've got these 5 items, which we'll refer to as our newspaper articles. So we can add as many collections as we want here. On the free plan, you get up to 10, otherwise you pay to get more. But there's plenty of options that you can do here. So you'll notice if I click into one of these items inside this collection, you will notice there's a bunch of different fields that we have here already. Now, by default, each CMS item must have a slug. Now, the slug is that part that kind of comes after your website link that kind of specifies the page. So it must absolutely have that. And it also needs a title. Now, every other sort of field here we could customize. So if we go to edit fields at the top of the page here, you notice that we can modify those fields that we could have inputs for. So for a blog, we might want a title, a slug, a date, sure, an image, the content itself. But maybe we want a couple of extra fields. Maybe we want one for the profile picture of the author. So we might call it author image. And maybe we want another one for the author name. So we could set up another field here for author name. And you'll see there's lots of different fields that we could add here. We could specify a link, we could specify a specific color, we could add a toggle, so whether we want to show or hide something inside the Framer UI. This can get really powerful really quickly, and I actually cover a ton of this inside my Framer masterclass, which you can get down below. But enough selling, let's continue. So we can tweak the order of these fields here, but essentially we want to specify the layout or the content that's going to be the same for every single post. And then inside my collection here, we can specify that content here. So let's say in this article here, we want the author name to be John Smith. And let's find a random image to specify for John Smith. He looks like a John. So now if I go back to my canvas, you'll notice I've created a new page here, which is called blog. Now, if I click this little drop down, you'll see we've also got a CMS item here called blog as well. So this is our collection page where we can show all of our collections. Now, whether we want to show this on this page or another page, it doesn't matter. So let's say on my home page here, I wanted to add that whole list of collections from my blog as a bit of a call to action. If I click on the insert menu, go down to collection list, I could just drag that collection onto my canvas and you'll notice it'll show the exact same thing. But for now, let's just keep everything on the one page. Now, if I click on my layers here, you'll notice we have something a little bit different. We've got a collection list, and then inside that collection list, we've got a stack, which actually contains all of our content. Now, if I make a styling update to something inside my stack here, you'll notice it'll update the exact same for all other items. Now, this is a big thing when it comes to the CMS. Anytime I make a styling change to whether it be a collection list or an individual page inside my CMS, it'll be global, meaning if I make it for one, it's going to update for the others. So think of it as like a big template that's being reused and reused. So let's go ahead here and actually just style this a little bit differently. So let's say if I wanted to make this left aligned, and let's say we want these to stack in a different way, and let's set the width of this to be 100%, and maybe we even use a grid formation. Okay, fantastic. This looks really good. And the last thing I want to make sure is that the actual content here itself is linked to the slug of that blog. So when I actually preview this and try to click into one of these, it'll actually take me to that individual blog page. So to view that individual blog page, again, let's just go back to our pages and let's select this blog page, which is underneath our blog at the moment. And similar to the collection list, any change I make on this page will be replicated on any other CMS page for my blogs. So let's say, for example, I wanted this hero image here to be a little bit different. Let's say I wanted it to have a border around the outside, and let's say we wanted it to have a drop shadow as well. So now you'll notice if I actually switch that CMS page and preview another page at the top left here, you notice that the styling changes for all other pages. And this is a great, quick, and easy way to actually preview different pages of your CMS inside the Framer canvas. Okay, great. So this is looking pretty good, and I can style this page however I want. Now, let's say I actually want to tie some content, like a new field on my page, to the CMS itself. So beforehand, we actually created this new field here, which was for the author name and the author image. So if I actually go to that article here, you'll notice there's no author name or image to be found. But we can actually tie content on the canvas back to the CMS. So let's go ahead here and let's draw a new frame, and let's call this our author holder. And then inside this frame here, we want to add some text. So let's call this author name. And we also want the profile picture as well. So I'm just going to draw in a new frame just like so. And we're essentially just wireframing where our content's going to go. So let's just set the width and height of that author holder to be auto so everything fits within. Remove that background, and let's change this to be a radius as high as possible. And now what you'll notice when I actually have an element on my canvas selected is on the properties panel, we've got these little pluses here. Now, any element that has these little pluses next to it means we could actually tie it back to the CMS. So for example, the fill where the image would normally go, we can click on that plus and we can set the variable to be a field from the CMS. So if I set it to be the author image, you'll notice it's going to pull that author image from the CMS and then display it on my canvas. And we can do the same for the text here. So let's go into text, let's select the content and set the variable to be author name, and you'll see it's here just like so. Now, what we can do is something a little bit more advanced. So let's say, for example, on our other page here, we don't have any content for our author. Now, we can actually set up a rule here. So if there is no content for our author, we can just hide this all together. So what we're going to do here is go down and we're going to select this author holder, and we're going to select the variable for visibility. So if I selected the visibility to be none, it would just kind of automatically hide. And we're going to set up a variable for this visibility, and we're going to make it that if the author image isn't set, then it's not going to show, right? So to actually do this properly is we want to set it to be author image is set, and that's going to mean the visibility is yes. So then if it's not set, it's not going to show. So you'll notice if I go to this initial blog post here, it's showing my author holder, but if I go to another blog post without an author, you notice it will just hide it just like that. So this way we can actually have a lot more control over our content for the CMS. Now, let's take this one step further and go back to our collection list, and let's make this a little bit more powerful. So what I'm going to do is go to superfields.io and grab a power up for my Framer CMS. So let's say I have lots of items. I actually want to paginate some of those items in my collection list. What I can do is just go to Superfields and copy this little component here, go back to Framer, and let's just paste this on the canvas just like so. And let's take this collection list and let's move this outside the canvas. And then we're going to take this component and I'm going to link that to my collection list so it actually appears back on the canvas. And then what we could quickly do is actually set up some pagination. So let's say we only want to load 2 per page. And then if I go back to Superfields and add some buttons here, and paste that onto my page once again. Okay, fantastic. And let's make sure that sits underneath. Cool. So if I preview this, you'll notice that now I can successfully paginate my collection list. And then if I click into this, I've got my collection item, just like so. And that's a quick crash course on the Framer CMS. Now, if you do want to power up your CMS even more, check out superfields.io with the link down below. But until then, I'll catch you later.